Welcome in, guys, to Rover Sports, the show. It is Tuesday, October the 22nd edition of the show. I'm here with Bruce the Sports Doc. Al Zafiri is to my right. And what an exciting week in the NFL. I think it was an exciting week. The Eagles go down to Texas, and they lay a big-time egg after Doug Peterson said we're going to go down there and we're going to win a football game. Carson Wentz with 4 turnovers. The Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys, a team that had lost 3 straight games, they come in and they whip the Eagles 37-10. Bruce, you were right when you said the Cowboys would win this game. Talk about how the Cowboys won the game and what surprised you, what didn't surprise you. Why don't you give a recap on what was a massacre in the Longhorn state of Texas?
Well, this is one of the most disappointing games I've seen in a while. One of the worst played games by the Eagles, and there were no bright spots in the game. I'll start off with the top, with the coaching. I believe this team was ill-prepared. They weren't prepared for the Cowboys in any respect. The effort by the team was poor, and basically embodied by the Aguilar short arm play, certainly along with for who, for what, one of the worst efforts in Philadelphia history for a ball to just be thrown out there and have him not even extend his arms, and also making excuses and blaming on, trying to kind of backdoor excuse against Wentz. So that was really bad. The Cowboys came prepared. So this team had lost 3 straight. They were wounded, but they looked like they were schemed up. Their coaches played well. Elliott just gouged them, for a ton of yards. And Zach was on, and Amari Cooper could not be covered. He put a double move on Rasul Douglas that convinced me yet another time Rasul Douglas is not a cornerback. He just can't adjust. His hips don't move quick enough, and he got completely burnt by that Amari Cooper play. Turnovers. Wentz, again, was very average. I don't put it all on him. Here at Philly, they tend to put everything, either blame or success, they blame it on the quarterback. Again, Wentz wasn't great, but it was not his fault either. Looking at the stats, again, I don't have them in front of me, but look at Alshon Jeffrey, $17 million guy, didn't even get 1 target in the first half. That can't happen. If you look at 51 yards passing in the first half, 28 of those yards were 1 pass to Dallas Goedert. So that means the whole first half, this is an NFL team basically covering the camera. That's one way to do it.
Well,
is that a Penn State whiteout?
Well, I'm listening to you.
Oh, thank you.
I am not being rude. I am listening to you speak.
I do appreciate that. We have a lot of people on Facebook, Bruce Grosinger, Facebook, YouTube. A lot of people. Log on, your comments. Al, we're here with Al Zafir, of course, the beautiful RDR Studios. Al, you want to give everybody the call-in number?
It's 484-257-9592, 484-257-9592.
And this is a truncated version of Rover Sports Tonight. There's another 36 minutes, so we're going to pack this all in. We're going to pack up.
So we got to be hyper.
Well, we definitely have to be hyper.
We have to be hyper. We have to be quick. We have to have energy, and we have to get things done in a very short amount of time.
Let me ask you this question from an outsider's point looking in with the Eagles.
Thank you.
As we've seen, a lot of teams, even very good teams who take the Patriots, who are undefeated at this point, have made trade moves right now. Sanu is off to the Patriots now. Looks like
Emmanuel
Sanders went to
49ers.
The 49ers, another undefeated team. Yet a team like the Eagles sit back and are making roster moves based off of who's on somebody's practice squad. If you're an outsider looking in, do the Eagles look like they've given up on the season already, or they are really confident what they have and just think they're slumping right now?
I don't think the Eagles have given up on the season at all, and I appreciate the question. The reason why I don't think the Eagles have given up on the season is because Howie Roseman tried to get Jalen Ramsey. He was willing to offer a first and a second-round pick in order for the Eagles to get Jalen Ramsey. The Philadelphia Eagles were also involved in the Jadeveon Clowney proceedings, and they came second to the Seattle Seahawks in that proceeding. So I look at the Eagles, Al, and they had a really good game against the Eagles had a really good game against the Jets. The Vikings game got away from them. Doug Peterson was very confident, saying that they were going to win this game. And, the Cowboys, they whipped the Eagles. But here's the thing, Al. If you go and play a team with Josh Allen, that is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL statistically. He's not one of the worst quarterbacks. In fact, he's a really good quarterback. But Josh Allen doesn't have a lot of help, Al. You are playing the Bears. The Bears stink. They have a terrible offense. And you look at the team the Eagles have lost to. The Vikings aren't that bad. Going to the Cowboys and playing a really motivated Cowboys team is tough. And you shot yourself in the foot with those first half turnovers. If there is some way that Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox can learn how to play football again, if there's some way that the defensive line can learn how to put pressure on a quarterback again, and also the running game needs to get better. Jordan Howard has been a no-show ever since his time out in Green Bay. I don't think Howie's quitting on this season at all, Al. I expect Chris Harris to be a Philadelphia Eagle. I expect that the Broncos and the Atlanta Falcons, there's some good cornerbacks down there, and Howie should absolutely get them. This is a win.
Speaking of the Falcons,
but Al, this is a win-now team. This is a win-now team, and Howie believes that because he thought the defense was good enough. That's why he drafted a backup running back in the second round. He thought that this team was good enough. He drafted Andre Dillard because he thought that this team was so good that they didn't even need to draft a guy in the first round that would actually need to play any football. So a lot of this has to do with Howie Roseman sitting back on his laurels, Bruce, because he kept Brandon Graham, he kept Fletcher Cox, and the defense is not producing, and Jim Schwartz's game plan was absolutely awful, and Dak Prescott really performed better than Carson Wentz in this spot. So, to answer your question, Al, the Eagles aren't mailing in the season at all. Now, I want to ask you this question. What do you think is going on with Carson Wentz? And do you still think that he's light years ahead of... Do you think he's far ahead of Dak Prescott in his development right now?
I would say far ahead. I would say he is definitely a better quarterback overall, talent-wise. I think Dak Prescott continues to have the better situation, as you've seen when the O-line's not performing correctly, when his guys are dropping the balls, when the defense isn't playing up to standards. He looks a lot worse than even Carson Wentz.
That's correct,
does.
because he has Elliott, who's a beast.
Yes.
He has
Elliott
Amari
gets shut
Cooper.
down. He's not...
His O-line's better. His defense is light years better.
It's because it's the Eagles, Cowboys, and forever them being together,
linked
together. They will continue to be linked together, and there'll always be this argument: who got the better quarterback? I think for a fourth-round pick, the Cowboys did well, but he is not as good as they like to think he is. But listen, I guarantee if you flip-flopped teams for Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott, it would probably be worse for Dak and much better for Carson, personally.
When you look at the protection, it's very, very poor for Wentz. It's a fire drill every time, and he is scrambling. Luckily for him, he's more mobile than he was last year, first year post-op. But I'm just looking at the separation. I'm looking at Alshon, and he still looks hurt. He still is not running full speed. He was never a speedster, but he doesn't look elusive. He's not getting yards after the catch. Arcega-Whiteside, again, we talk about this every week. There are plenty of good safeties and plenty of good linebackers in that draft. It was really heavy on defense. And the Eagles drafted all offense, and they just overlooked the fact that obviously didn't draft a cornerback, and really some big hitters. And the Eagles are defined by lack of turnovers. You look at the Jets, that was fool's gold, 10 sacks. So just get rid of the Jets. That doesn't mean anything. But this team doesn't have any power rushers. Chris Long is gone. Michael Bennett is gone. And Vinny Curry is at most a run stopper.
What did you say about Michael Bennett?
Fletcher Cox is hurt. Or essentially him and
He's
Jason
definitely not
Peters
really
are
a-
always.
Is he hurt?
But I won't say hurt. He's just slowed.
I think he's old, and I think he's diminished goods.
But you just don't have Brandon Graham. Have one or two good plays a game, like really solid plays. But basically, Dak Prescott could sit back and take his time, and so that whole Dallas game, there was just a lot of mistakes. That Goddard fumble was bad. Turnovers. You're down 14-0, 6 minutes into the game. Now, again, there is plenty of time in the game, but it didn't feel at any point in the game like the Eagles had a chance to win. Just didn't feel.
There's no giddy up in them. They seem very
They
flat.
seem slow. And I don't know. I think in part you could blame strength and conditioning. There's no team that has more groin strains, abdominal strains, calf strains. They just look. They have no speed. The team speed is terrible. They're an older team, but you just can't win without speed. There's no chunk plays in this team. The NFL is a league where you can't just dink and dunk anymore. It's not that kind of league. You got to be able to take the top off the defense. And who knows if Deshaun Jackson is Andrew Bynum? It's like Andrew Bynum. He's coming back. He's doing better. He's doing well. But you know what? The guy's got an abdominal strain. And you know what? This might be his last hurrah. And if he doesn't play at all this year, I'm sure the Eagles are not going to re-sign him.
Here's why.
That sometimes you just got to man up and get in there and do it. And they really need him, and he's not. And they're teasing you every week, but it's like Andrew Bynum II. That's what it is.
Here's why.
D-Jax is crapping out, as far as I can see.
Here's why he's not Andrew Bynum, and I hope the $40 deal's on the table. But the thing is about Andrew Bynum was he had all the music things going on. He was blasting music at video game speeds. And Deshaun Jackson's a legend in Philly with the miracle catch. But, Darren Sproles, Deshaun Jackson, Ertz, Mac Hollins, it's the same group on offense. But Carson Wentz, he has an inability to throw the ball deep to Alshon Jeffrey. That's what I see. Carson Wentz doesn't allow Alshon Jeffrey to have an opportunity to make big plays. And in the all-boys club, where it's Carson Wentz, it's what's his name? It's the tight end, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. I feel that there's cliques on this team, and I kind of feel bad for Alshon Jeffrey because he always has to go talk to Josina Anderson because he's left out. He's not. He
doesn't have to do that, really.
But he doesn't have to. But he's getting bullied by Carson Wentz. I think he's getting bullied a little bit by Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz, and Alshon Jeffrey. He's a little sad right now. His psyche is not the same.
17 million reasons he shouldn't be sad.
Well, but Nick Foles took care of Alshon Jeffrey. Where Carson
Nick Foles is hurt and he's not even playing.
But Carson Wentz does not make Alshon Jeffrey a better football player, and Carson Wentz likes Zach Ertz. He likes Goddard better.
He didn't talk as much in the last game.
Alshon Jeffrey is out of the club. Alshon Jeffrey is not in the clique.
Was Alshon being fed plenty and doing well in 2017?
Yes.
Did okay last year too, right?
He did.
He did all right. No, he did well when Foles. I think he did better when Nick Foles was there.
Well, Carson only played 6 games last year, give or take. But
yeah.
The point is how's that? Here's my thing is
what
if the ball is thrown to you and it's catchable, especially for a guy as big and as tall and basketball-like athlete as he is. How is that Carson's? Carson's throwing the ball, for as far as I'm concerned, pretty well. Could be a little better. He's overthrown a couple guys here and there, but even Tom Brady overthrows guys during the game. That's going to happen.
Right.
Nobody's 100% always on the mark. So my point is people keep complaining about the thing that scares me a little bit is one of the big things in 2017 and in 2018 when things were going well was this culture situation, the culture of the locker room, the feel of the locker room, all that different stuff. There's there's the anonymous thing that sounds that Howard Eskin came out and said it was pretty much declared it was Alshon Jeffrey because apparently whoever made the whoever outed him at ESPN says that's the only person she knows at the Eagles.
Yes, Josina Anderson.
Yes, so
and Jeff McClain. I want to hear that clip of Jeff McClain coming at Howard Eskin.
Oh, and Howard, I heard it. I heard both of them. I heard Howard Eskin's retort to the situation. Jeff McClain came out and said. He didn't say his name. He didn't say Howard Eskin, but he goes, he works not for the Eagles, but with the Eagles. He's on the sideline. The man wears a Super Bowl ring. I mean, who else is it?
I saw that in the column, Jeff McClain's column yesterday.
Well, he said it during.
Said it at Doug Peterson's press conference.
On Monday,
actually,
That's
he
what
actually
he
asked
wrote about
He used those words. He actually said those words audibly at the press conference.
He was a question towards Doug, and he used those words. He goes about him is, how do you feel if he's giving out information about the team or leaking news, like kind of blaming him for the leak. And then Howard Eskin was.
It's really awkward. I heard that Peterson really was in an awkward position. He couldn't really answer it.
And Howard,
didn't it seem awkward there?
Howard got into a tussle with Jeff McClain after, actually.
Well, what happened was...
Who said tussle? Physical or yelling match?
Just a little bit of a aggressive verbal tone.
Well, this is what happened. So Monday
they weren't wrestling
They weren't wrestling like dancing bears.
All right, so
I would give McClain the edge. He's 30 years younger.
Not only that,
Howard.
He's about a foot taller.
Put it this way. Howard was on the morning show. He
with
announced
Cataldi.
With Cataldi, he announced he said it was Alshon Jeffrey. The press conference came earlier in the afternoon that same day. It's when he outed Eskin. Eskin was on the the Brandon Graham show. I think it starts at 6:00 on Mondays, and he pretty much said Jeff McClain's an idiot and a moron, like his normal things, and he's no good.
A nitwit.
Yeah, he didn't even just call him names. He pretty much threw him under the bus, saying he's not good at what he does. He's mad about being passed over for ESPN a bunch of different times. He was going after him as a professional. He was going for the throat, in a professional way. But it was actually the first time Eskin and McClain were actually interesting to listen to for the first time in forever.
I wish that. How come Eskin doesn't have a show? I think Eskin needs a show.
Well, he used to.
He's so the people now. I just think Eskin's more entertaining
the
than
afternoon
these guys.
drive. Yeah, I think it was the morning and the afternoon drive at one point.
Eskin's so entertaining, and he picks fights with a lot of people here.
No, his shtick to me gets old and quick. It's just he reminds me of Mike Missinelli, kind of a guy who talks down on people when they're talking. If you called in with I feel like that question I asked you, I said, hey, Mike Missinelli, do you feel like the Eagles have given up? And if he didn't agree with it, he would be like, oh, you're an idiot. What are you even talking about? You're a moron. Like that. Listen, people have an opinion. They have a right to opinion. Some of them can be a little crazy and silly. Don't get me wrong. But I just don't feel like you should ever. These are people listening. You should never have to talk down to them in that situation.
The reason why he's talking down is because that's the style that attracts listeners. That's the style that makes it a fun and funny radio show. These guys are actors. We're all acting in some degree.
Somebody's asking a question. Trade deadline's coming up. Who should the Eagles target?
Great question, and we're going to talk a lot of Eagles, and then we're going to, of course, go around the league maybe here. I think the Eagles should target Chris Harris of the Denver Broncos. I think that he's been the biggest rumor
that's still available at this point.
I think he's a good cornerback. Denver is absolutely screwed. Joe Flacco looks like he could barely play football anymore.
That was the worst game. That was the worst Joe Flacco game ever. He is slow. You talk about being immobile.
Yeah.
He looks like he doesn't want to play.
He just looks done. That was the worst game. No
Even
offense
Troy
at all.
Aikman was absolutely pounding Flacco in the broadcast, and if Flacco, he just can't get out of a wet paper bag.
Is it just
and he's immobile, and he overthrows guys, and athletically he's so shot. And
was it just me, or does Denver just? Since Peyton Manning, outside of Peyton Manning, can they even? I mean, that's not a hard pick there. Doesn't seem like they really can pick quarterbacks yet.
No, they don't.
Osweiler,
no,
Flacco.
It's not even an opinion.
Yeah,
they did.
It's factual.
They failed.
It's factual.
You have Trevor Siemian, Flacco, Osweiler. I'm trying to think of Paxton Lynch.
Yeah. I mean, they just missed totally on the quarter outside of Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning was kind of towards the end of his career, too, on top of it.
Well, it's John Elway.
You figured that John Harbaugh would know if he's trading Flacco out of the organization and starting Lamar Jackson, you know that that he knew he was toast, and there was nothing left. And I'm surprised that Elway would put, Drew Lock's coming back, I think, Spence, right?
I
so
hope
Drew Lock
is
coming back.
Start. I met Drew Lock at the
on
Nashville airport, actually. He's a really nice kid.
He's coming off the injured reserve list. So
he has a thumb injury.
He'll be okay. He's going to be okay. Drew Lock's going to finish the season for them. That team's in full rebuild mode.
What I want to see from Drew Lock, Bruce, is I want to see Drew Lock be able to scan the field quickly. I don't want to see him take a lot of hits. And I want to see him get the ball. I want to see him get the ball out quickly, kind of throw the ball down at receivers. And, I don't want to see him hesitate. I don't want any happy feet. And Drew, the protection of Denver, their offensive line is actually horrible. I mean, Garrett Bowles, you're starting the kid from Kansas State who I like, Dalton Reisner, but you have Leary. They just don't have a lot of talent on that offensive line, and that's really costing them. But, going back to the entirety of the of who the Eagles would want, right? I think that how about Atlanta Falcons player
Vic Beasley? I was thinking of at one point.
That's a pass rusher, but I think the Eagles need like a Keanu Neal, or I would like.
You don't think they need a pass rusher? Because here's my thing: is
I want a safety or a cornerback.
The defense is predicated on the front four.
Good point.
The defense is predicated. Our cornerbacks can actually do okay if the front four is doing what Jim Schwartz expects them to do. They're not doing that. So that means everything is now falling back onto the secondary. We have no linebacker core. They just get rid of Zach Brown. They don't replace him with anybody worthwhile. I would love to know what was happening that they couldn't deal with him for another game. I
just think that the sometimes it's the buzz in the locker room. The fact that he called out the quarterback. Sometimes that happens, and it's just momentum. The ball's rolling downhill, and they get rid of the guy.
Go to the Cincinnati Bengals and try to get a defensive end off of that team, Bruce.
Cornerback. There's so many bad teams that are just done, and it's kind of buyers and sellers, just like in baseball. And I think the Eagles, it doesn't feel like it. They're only one game out of first place. It doesn't really feel like it.
Feels like the season's on the brink.
But I think what we ought to do is, because this is a truncated show, I'm going to have Al Zafiri pick out some games. I want to go quickly around the league for some picks.
I would preview Buffalo Eagles. I would do that.
We are going to preview at the end, though. We're going to preview that at the very end.
So, man. All right.
Why don't you throw some games? You know some games coming up, right, Spence?
Should I get I get another pair of headphones or no?
There you go.
No, you're good.
All right, so
I'm good.
The Thursday night game is Redskins in Minnesota. I don't think that's much of a conversation.
You'll give us do you have the lines with that also?
I can pull that up.
Well, and I also want to preview. I want to preview Eagles and Bills as well, because I think that's such a fascinating game. Buffalo's defense is spectacular against Carson Wentz, who does nothing but get sacked a lot. And I think that is going to be a really fun game. Josh Allen versus Carson Wentz. We always hear the comparisons out of Wyoming. Same college coach in Craig Dole. So I think his name is Craig Dole. But, first of all, Minnesota, Kirk Cousins, Bruce, you're not going to believe this. He has the highest quarterback rating, QBR, in the NFL. Guess how many touchdowns he's thrown in 3 football games? In 180 minutes of playing football, guess how many touchdowns he's thrown in the last 3 games?
Okay, I'm going to guess. I'm just going to throw a number. I'll say 11.
12.
Pretty good guess.
12 touchdowns, no interceptions, 400 yards a game. This is the revival of Kirk Cousins.
All right, slow down. First part. This is typical.
But he's playing the Redskins, though.
This is typical Kirk Cousins. Because he always comes out looking good in the beginning of the season, especially. But when it comes down to crunch time and important games, that's when he falters. So I got to see him get through some tough games.
No, I agree. He's not an elite. He's not an elite.
This revival of Kirk Cousins.
Well, Al. First off, he's not an elite. He's not a top 5 quarterback, but he's
not a top 10 quarterback.
He's a top 12 quarterback. He's a good quarterback. I mean,
15.
You're being too unfair to Cousins.
No, I'm not. I'm being fair. I'm being serious.
Kirk Cousins shouldn't lead. He shouldn't lead a football. He shouldn't lead a Super Bowl team.
Shouldn't lead a football team.
No.
Yeah.
Al,
Then
That's
why
what the
is he playing-
quarterback
Al,
usually
Then
does.
wait. If he shouldn't lead a Super Bowl team, then why is he playing football in the NFL?
Well, guess what? He's trying. There's only 2 teams that are in the Super Bowl every year. The Vikings are not as good as the Packers. Okay, you could put.
But you should have somebody who can put you in, have a possibility of putting you in the game. Then you should,
Yes,
or you shouldn't.
and
be
he's
playing.
getting them to the playoffs. They are a good organization, and he is a good quarterback. So
Let's talk about this game.
His,
How many points
his
are the Redskins
expectations
getting?
are out of control.
The Vikings are getting 16. It's 16 point spread.
16-point spread
Yeah.
at home. This is a very tough game to predict. I think the Redskins' defense last week, their defense was fantastic. Against the Dolphins, their defense was good. It's 16 points. The game is in Minnesota. I still think the Vikings have a chance to cover. And with the way that this offense is rolling around, the way that Kevin Stefanski is teeing up plays for guys like Irv Smith, for Johnson, for Thielen. I don't know if Thielen's going to play. He was hurt on Sunday. And Diggs, I think that the Vikings can score 34 points. And I think that they can cover. What do you think?
Yep. I'm taking, just like I felt, my lock of the week was again, it's easy to look back on it, was Patriots-Jets. I look at the Redskins as a team that's dead. There's no offense. Going halfway across the country, just a complete dumpster fire.
They hate it.
There was one interesting stat, Al. People who bet on the Redskins, they actually won the game with the points.
Yeah, it was 9.5.
I don't remember this ever happening. The Redskins scored no points. So that means if you bet on the Redskins, like I was making a joke when we did a show earlier. Mm-hmm. I made a joke. I really didn't spend $100,000. I'm not that crazy, but I said I bet $100,000 on the Redskins in the game, and they scored no points, and I won my bet. So when's the last time any of you guys remember an NFL game where your team that you're betting on scores no points and you end up winning? That's a first, I think.
Well,
that
49ers have
speaks
that
all
ability.
you need to know about the Redskins. So it sounds like a lot of
It was
points,
a monsoon.
but I think that's going to be. It's indoors. There's not going to be any monsoon in Minnesota Stadium. It's a great stadium, a beautiful place, great place for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. But that game, I'm not betting on the Skins. I'm taking. Because the blowouts happen. The Vikings are going to flex their muscles, and that's going to be an easy one. What's the next game?
Giants at Detroit. Detroit's -7.
This is one of your teams, I could say.
I will take.
How about-
why don't you take the lead on
Detroit
this game?
and the 7.
I think that's a lot of points, though, a touchdown.
I don't know. I mean, for what I saw last week, I mean, in Detroit, they're going to be going up a much better defense in Detroit with Matt Patricia leading the helm
Now,
there.
you think it's a good defense, but Detroit just gave up 4 touchdowns to Kirk Cousins last week.
And Stafford can put up points.
Detroit doesn't have a pass rush.
I'll take the Lions. I was right about the Cardinals game. I'm gonna be right
This
about
is
the
a
Lions
letdown game for the Lions because the Lions are 2-3. Their season is over. They're depressed up there in Detroit. Their season, which
They're
was
always
once
depressed up there in Detroit.
their season that was once promising is now completely and utterly over. The Giants have a lot of motivation to prepare. They have motivation to save Pat Shurmur a little bit, to save the season. This is a classic NFL trap game for the Detroit Lions. I'm taking the 7 points. I think it's going to be a closer game than people think. It goes against all wisdom. The Giants have a terrible rushing defense, but guess what? Kerryon Johnson is hurt. And the Lions are tired. Matt Patricia's tired. This is a very mediocre team right now. They're not playing good football. And 7 points is a ton of points, so I'm taking the points.
I personally, last week, I had a really good week. I was 8-1. And the one team I got burnt on was the New York Giants. They were just terrible.
And you're not going to do it again.
And I am not making that mistake again. So I am not rolling with them. Daniel Jones looked terrible. Their defense is non-existent. They're going to Detroit, a team that I think they have a good infrastructure with Matt Patricia. They're together. They haven't quit. They've lost some terrible games. They're not going to win anything. But I don't think they've quit. I think the Giants have quit more at Pat Shurmur, and I'm not going to get burnt 2 weeks in a row. I'm taking the Lions in this particular game.
Okay, great.
Next game.
The next game is Tampa Bay at Tennessee. The Titans are minus 2.5.
I like the Titans in this game because Ryan Tannehill's playing some really good football right now. He had a great performance against the Chargers. He could be the long-term answer there in Tennessee. Jameis Winston is a turnover machine, and this Titans defense is very opportunistic. It's a top 10 defense, Bruce. This is a great Titans defense with Mike Vrabel. So I think it's a bad matchup for Tampa Bay. I know Tampa had a bye week, but 2.5 points, I like the Titans to win this game. Probably about a touchdown.
Yeah, and if I look at the line, I don't think a lot of people – I'm thinking of the psyche of the bettors. I don't think people watch the Titans at all. They know Mariota got benched. I don't think they paid much attention to them. I agree the defense is underrated, not well known. Tampa's just been a wildly inconsistent team. Going away, I agree with you. I'm taking the Titans in this game.
I'm taking the Titans too, but the 2.5, that funny thing, it scares me a little bit because I don't think it's going to be more than a 1 or 2 point difference.
It's going to be a close game. It's going to be an ugly game.
It's going to be an ugly game.
It's going to be an ugly game.
Like
it would
19,
take
17,
the under.
like
take
something
the under
like,
in that
I'll
game.
still watch it. It's kind of entertaining with Jameis and Tannehill.
Well, that brings us to the 2-5 Chargers versus the 3-3 Bears.
And this is a game
in Chicago
that is barely watchable.
And the Bears are minus 4.5 in this one.
Do not take the Bears. They burned me so hard last week.
Do. They're my letdown of the year. And
How many times have you got burned by the Chargers, though? I think a lot of people out there in Roverland.
That was my
I thought Phillip Rivers, he disappoints me every week. The Chargers have just been terrible.
Does he have to move on? Does Phil to win a Super Bowl?
To where?
I don't know if he can. He's got 10 kids he's got to feed.
Yeah, he has a whole convoy. What city's going to have 12 rivers?
Oh, well. There's 3 rivers in Pittsburgh. What's another 12?
I personally, I don't like. Okay, you're gonna have to pick a team.
There's a lot of rivers.
I don't want to hold up the conversation.
Let's
make it quick.
This would be a good trade. Maybe Rivers could go to the Bears. That would actually be a good trade.
I'm taking the Bears just because I can't.
Too many
until
points.
the Chargers show me that they can win a game. I just know that there's certain teams that just keep on burning me.
Too many points.
I don't like this game really. If somebody put a gun to my head, I would take the Bears. I would opt out of betting on this game.
If someone put a gun to your head, you would take the bullet.
I would take the bullet rather than bet the game.
I'm going to actually take the I'm going to take the Chargers on this.
Okay,
is Mitch Trubisky even playing?
I agree with
Trubisky's terrible. Now listen, it's a bad team.
But the Chargers, they almost could have won. Phillip Rivers is still a much better quarterback. You're getting 4.5 points. You're getting those points. You stay with those points. That's way too many points. The Bears are not a good team. And guess what? Their defense isn't even that good anymore. Teddy Bridgewater toasted them last week. They're really missing Vic Fangio.
You give the Saints a lot of credit. They've been playing some good football without
Oh,
Drew
yeah.
Brees.
Sean Payton is spectacular. Every single year, this guy is spectacular.
The next one is Seattle at Atlanta. Seattle's minus 3.5, so I'm taking Seattle without a problem.
Something's weird about that line.
I'm scared.
Atlanta's terrible.
Think of it this way. It's because
What's wrong with that?
It's because Atlanta.
It's 13.
One of the games I got right was the Rams last week pounding Atlanta.
Well, here's my thing:
they get pounded every week.
Normally, when two teams are pretty close in matchup, I always think of it this way: when the home team's not favored, figure that's like 6.5 points. Right. Because usually, if a team's close and if the home team will get like 3 points usually. So I looked at it as 3.5 because Atlanta's that bad. So it's almost
they
like
just
a 6
got rid of. They basically sold.
Yeah.
By getting rid of trading Sanu, they're basically telling the league that they are in sell mode. So that's another reason.
There was an article out that said
to bet against the Falcons. You can make a lot of money this year betting against the Falcons, and that line is inviting you. It's asking. They're opening the door. They're just saying, walk right through, bet against the Falcons.
But that's how casinos get made in Vegas off games like
these crazy games that you can't figure out.
I bet Atlanta wins by like 20.
Well, they're due to have some bounce back. I don't know.
But I'm not.
There's an old saying in when it comes to investing. There's an old saying that a dead cat won't bounce. So I think Atlanta Falcons are the dead cat. They're not bouncing. I'm going against them. Like I learned certain lessons, certain trends. And last week I was 8-1 because I went with those particular
Stick
trends.
with the dead cats.
So
You're taking the dead cat.
No,
that cat ain't bouncing, man.
No,
the cat ain't
I
bouncing.
agree with you 1,000%. And Seattle lost to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson went right into their house.
In Seattle.
This is a must-win game for Seattle if they want to compete with the Rams and the Niners.
We're going around the league here at Rover
Seattle,
Sports.
but
going around the league.
Tell us about
Next
the
game,
article.
please.
Tell us about the article first.
They just said everybody's on the table. Like even Julio Jones is possible for a trade if it's good enough.
I think that's theoretical, but
Yeah.
you know what? They've got a stadium called the Mercedes Stadium. PSLs are expensive. Tickets are expensive there. Guess what happens if you get rid of Julio Jones? Your stadium becomes empty.
Mm-hmm.
They can say all they want. They're not trading Julio Jones.
guess
We'll
what?
see about that.
Julio Jones will be traded for 2 first-round picks.
Probably 2 first and either a player or another, like a
Do
mid-late
you
round
think
pick.
that the Eagles would do that?
I wouldn't put it past him, but he's a little older on
You
the
know
older
what I
side.
heard?
And
Speaking
that
of
contract
stadiums,
is bad, right? It's a bad contract.
by the
Well,
way,
no, he just got a new one. I mean,
Just,
it's a
Yeah,
big
$20
contract.
million a year.
let me just mention something out of nowhere.
Bad contract.
But I heard strong rumors out of L.A. are that L.A. has got this $5 billion stadium, and they're sharing. So the Rams are sharing it with
The
the
Chargers.
Chargers. And I heard they made the Jalen Ramsey trade, knowing it was a terrible trade, just to sell PSL and sell tickets in this $5 billion stadium. And that the Rams knew it was a bad trade. So for all you Eagles fans that are disappointed that you didn't get Jalen Ramsey, the Rams themselves feel like they overpaid.
Well, they
so
did
that's just
and that's what
something.
happened. I mean, they went over the top. It was like a 1 in the second round for 2 different years from the Eagles, apparently. But they went over the top. They gave him 2 first-rounders and a late round pick the following year. So, I mean,
Why is Jalen Ramsey somehow this lightning rod of going? Why would someone go to a game
He
to watch
literally is-
someone cover another player?
Yeah,
It's not
I-
like he's a receiver or a quarterback.
well, listen, this is LA. They're trying to drum up anything.
Next.
The next game is the 1-5 Jets versus the 3-4 Jags. Jags are minus 4.5 in this one.
Game is in Jacksonville?
Yes,
you guys
sir.
pick this first. I'll end.
I'll pick this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Jets are horrific. I think that I think Sam Darnold is still seeing ghosts. He's seeing ghosts. He wasn't able to distinguish the difference between green and blue yesterday. He is
Look at the
shell
ghost
shocked.
thing.
I think he's got PTSD. It's going to take him at least another year or 2 to recover. I am taking the Jags in this particular game. I think
I
after
will-
that
I will
game,
concur.
the Jets are toast, baby.
The Jets are dead.
They're toast, ghost.
The dead cats don't bounce, and also the dead
You learned that.
Darnolds.
Dead cats don't bounce,
And
baby.
dead
You learned
Darnold.
something.
Yeah, when
Dead
they're
Darnold,
dead.
He's seeing ghosts. He's got PTSD after that Patriots
Yeah,
game.
and he's gonna have PTSD for another year. So now he has mono, and now he's getting treated for some PTSD.
We're going to skip the Philly game real quick.
But guess what?
Well, actually, we're getting
Darnold's entire career was ended last night by Bill Belichick. This guy can't read a blitz. This guy, Sam Darnold, skittish in the pocket, a turnover machine, not strong. He's very weak, and it just shows you the draft Illuminati, all of those people like McShay and Kuiper that all were playing up Sam Darnold as the second coming of quarterback Jesus. I mean, they are so wrong. He's an embarrassment. Adam Gase is an embarrassment. I bet the Jags only allowed the Jets to score maybe 3 points. So I think it could be 20-3. Sam Darnold's career is over. The Jets are going to be selecting a quarterback next year. He is an embarrassment, not only to the NFL, but to the quarterback position.
Next
The
game,
next
please.
game is Philly in Buffalo, and Buffalo's minus 1.5.
Next game, please.
So minus 1.5. So this is essentially a pick 'em.
No,
game.
essentially the Eagles are getting points.
I get it.
Or essentially the Eagles are favored almost, because remember the 3 points
Yep.
to the home team? Because this is what the betting public is thinking, okay? Let me try to educate you here.
Go right ahead.
They're thinking...
Just lost $40. I'm just kidding.
Well, no, but
that's an inside line.
But this is such a this is
This is
such
important. You've gotta
but
be able
this
to
is- I have
articulate
to
this.
articulate. I have to take off the headphones to really
to
find
really unblock your brain.
to unblock it.
Go right
So,
ahead, Black.
I'm going to try to unblock it right now
Unblock it.
because I want to come up with
We
a
want to hear some
soliloquy.
wisdom.
Josh Allen as a quarterback, one of the worst statistical quarterbacks in the NFL. The Bills wide receivers, and I followed this team because all my friends on YouTube are Bills fans, okay? And I don't want to offend them, but they have Cole Beasley, John Brown, a guy by the name of Robert Foster, and and Dawson Knox. They have no weapons at all. They rely on Frank Gore as a running back. They rely on Devin Motor Singletary as a running back. The Bills' offense is not a good offense, okay? But last week, the Dolphins, with Ryan Fitzpatrick, beat the Bills in time of possession, moved the ball very well against Buffalo. Buffalo hasn't played a lot of competition, so people think that this Eagles team is going to bounce back against Josh Allen. They think it's a desperate team. They think Allen is going to be reckless and turn the ball over. This is an indictment on the Bills' offense, this line. And the way that I look at the game, I still think that the Bills can win this game because I think that the Bills' pass rush can get to Carson Wentz. The Bills have the best secondary in the NFL. They have Poyer, Micah Hyde, and Tre'Davious White is probably a top 8 cornerback in football. They're great at taking the ball away. Their linebackers are phenomenal. Carson Wentz is going to get pressured. It's going to be a low-scoring game. It comes down to, can Josh Allen do enough to win the game? And I'm going to go with the Bills in this game, honestly. I am.
Okay, my pick in this game. This feels to me like the Packers game. It just feels the dynamics of the game.
Must win.
It's a must win. I see the Eagles are a veteran team, a team that wins when they have to. Buffalo is still a young team. Good team, up-and-coming team. Got a nice record. If you look at the Bills for the last 20 years, they always hit a point where they start sliding back. So a lot of it is, I believe that whatever life is left in this Eagles locker room, they are going to peak for this game. They know it's an away game, and I think when they're coming home, they have to save their season. They win the game against the Bills. They come back. They'll beat the Bears. They'll be able to go into a bye week and get healthy and at least remain in the hunt. So I believe the Eagles are a desperate team. Josh Allen, when you rush him, he throws interceptions. I think it's going to be a close, ugly game. But just the way I had a very strong gut feel, even after a horrendous game last week against the Cowboys, I believe the Eagles will win this game. And I'm going to put a score out. I don't think the weather's going to be great. I'm going to predict 17-10. Eagles are going to win this game in an ugly game where they gut it out, and the few remaining players who are playing with guts on the Eagles will win. The veterans will show leadership, and Josh Allen will turn the ball over in critical times. Sorry, Gary Kaminsky, your team will still have a great record after the game, but I'm picking the Eagles right here. I
agree with pretty much all that. I think this is a gut check time for the Birds, and I think it's going to be a close game. Maybe not 7. I would say maybe like a 17-20 type game, but close to everything else that you said. The next game is the 0-7 Bengals versus the 4-3 Rams.
And the spread, please.
And the spread is minus 13 for the Rams.
And it's in L.A.?
It's in L.A.
I love the Rams here in the spot. They're coming on strong. They just beat the Falcons. They're getting another layup now with Jalen Ramsey. I don't think the Bengals score more than 7, and I think that the Rams score like 28. So,
yeah, I don't really like the game. I'd avoid the game.
Yeah,
because the Rams are wildly inconsistent.
I love the Rams.
The Bengals are terrible, but that's a ton of points to lay. But if I had to pick a side in this, I would take the Rams because I think the Bengals are dead. Going away to L.A., even though L.A., there'll probably be as many Bengals fans there as Rams fans, which is really a disgrace in itself. But stay away from the game. But if somebody forces you to bet the game for some reason, if somebody breaks in your house and tells you to bet the game, I would take the Rams.
But Bruce, could be a good tease. Could be a good tease. Like you could get the Rams.
The word teasing it means you're going to be losing it.
Well, you could get the word.
We won't talk about that.
Well, you could get the Rams -6, and then they only have to win by a touchdown. The tease.
Well, that brings us to our next game.
No tease.
Arizona versus New Orleans. In New Orleans, Saints are -9.5.
I love the Saints in this game. Well, 9.5. Dang, that's a lot of points. Actually, that's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points.
I'm just going to because we're almost at the end of the show. I'm going to take the Cardinals. I don't know why. I think
Kyler Murray's good. They're on a 3-game winning streak.
Here's the point. I think the Saints will win the game, but that's too many points, and I'm going. Last week I won on a lot of gut feels, and I was 8-1. When I really analyze it, I think a lot. I usually end up losing pretty poorly, so I'm just going on the gut feel right there.
I think, oh man, I mean the Saints are unbelievable. I've gone against the Saints so many times this year and gotten burned.
You got burnt every time.
They're great.
I'm going to go rapid fire because I know you got to get out of here.
I got to get out.
All right, let's rapid fire. Denver and Indy. I will take Indy.
Yep, Colts.
Indy.
Carolina at San Fran.
How much is Carolina getting?
Niners are minus 5.5.
I'll take the Panthers. Actually,
See,
I'll take the Niners.
Panthers are good. They're good.
They're
legit.
If I'm going with the points, I would take Carolina just because the Niners can not always put up a lot of points. We've seen it in the past. But outright, I'm going San Fran.
I think the San Fran's rolling. They got the feel of the old San Francisco team.
School.
They've got a full crowd.
Bosa
And I'm
D.
taking
Ford.
the Niners. I'm feeling the Niners.
D. Ford. Their linebackers are amazing.
Oakland at Houston. Houston's minus 6.5.
I think that's too many. You think it's too many points or no? I'll tell you this: Oakland secondary is awful. Deshaun Watson's gonna have a field day. I went with Oakland against the Packers. I could get burned again, but I'm gonna get burned again. I'm gonna say Oakland.
I'm Houston.
I'm going with Houston. I think Oakland is leaking oil. They're done and they're heading very much south.
Here's for all those Cleveland fans. The Browns at New England.
How much are?
It's 10.5 points.
Okay, I'm gonna make an easy pick. I think what I've seen of New England is all world. They're from a different planet. The Browns are from the planet Blutarski, and that's John Belushi. Nope. The Patriots are hitting on all cylinders.
The Browns have,
this is the year for the ages.
But this is Baker.
Yeah.
This is Baker Mayfield, though. You're talking. It's Odell Beckham.
Yes, exactly.
I don't care.
I'm not going to get
Odell
this argument.
Beckham.
It is Baker
Odell
Mayfield.
Beckham.
Baker Mayfield's a good
Odell
quarterback.
Beckham is thinking more about his pants that don't cover his knees than he's thinking about this game. He's a selfish player. Take the Patriots. Give him as many points as you want.
Yeah.
Fine. I'll be
Taking the Browns?
contrarian. The Browns have a bye week. The Browns have talent.
That's what you said about Oakland, by the way.
It's the NFL. It's the NFL,
Okay.
and the NFL is weird. And guess what?
You're absolutely right. The NFL is weird, but
I'm taking the Browns.
The Browns
with
are
the points. With the points.
Green Bay at Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes less Kansas City, might I add.
This line is crazy to me, by the way.
And it's minus 3.5. The Packers are getting 3.5.
Going
into Kansas
I would
City.
take even if the Packers were minus 9. I would probably still take the Packers. I can't. This line is crazy. It's so low. I don't understand how Aaron Rodgers versus Matt Moore is going to be close, especially with how well Aaron Rodgers is playing. The Packers are 6-1 too. Their defense is good. They're a complete team. I think the Packers blow these guys out.
By the way, knowing Matt Moore, he's very immobile. I never predict injury, but Matt Moore is going to be out of the game, and you're going to see a wide receiver playing quarterback.
In Tyreek Hill?
You're going to see Tyreek Hill playing quarterback. I think this is a real easy game. Take the Packers in this game.
Lock of the week.
Lock of the week.
Lock of the week.
And by the way, that's
there.
the primetime game. That's the Sunday night game.
That'll be a fun game to watch.
And then somehow this made it to Monday night. I don't know how. They thought this was good, worthwhile.
Monday night.
Miami versus Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh.
Sticks Renegade.
How many points is Miami getting?
Steelers are getting 14.5.
That line went down from 16.
Which you still have
Fitzy versus Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
I think
starting this game.
I think in this game,
your boy Ducky has been benched.
Ducky's unfortunately, because Rudolph's a third-round pick.
Yep.
But Ducky is very supportive of Rudolph. Rudolph's one of his best friends on the team. I'll tell you this: I get burned in these big lines a lot. I'm gonna take. I know the Steelers are gonna win. The Steelers actually,
because the Dolphins want to lose.
The Dolphins will cover. I think it's very, very close. I would absolutely stay away from the game. But the Steelers' defense, is spectacular. They have the Watt brother. They have Tuitt. My prediction: I think the Steelers win the AFC North still. and that's my big
At
prediction.
2-4 right now?
I believe the Steelers are a playoff team in the AFC. That is my hot take.
I think that's too many points. I'm taking the Dolphins and the points in that.
But guess what? The Steelers, they're for real. Great. One of the best defenses in the league.
That's
Top
just a ton
4.
of points. That's a ton of points.
Yeah.
Could be bad weather,
3 and 4 Steelers.
rainy, bad field.
Steelers are coming back.
Win.
I'm actually going to take the Steelers on this one, even with the points, believe it or not.
Why?
Okay.
Because of the offense?
I just have this feeling.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's easy to bet against the Dolphins.
Yeah, and it's
very easy to
the
bet
worst
against that
ranked
team.
defense.
It's a feeling.
All right, here. And why don't you take us out?
All right, guys, I want to thank everybody for joining the show today. It was a wonderful experience with Bruce and Al Zafiri. Everybody, have a wonderful week of football. And this is Rover Sports, and we will see y'all very soon.